Okay, so I am back and it's been a few days, it's been more than a few days actually since I got my Style ID report, which I'm very excited about. So in my last video, although I'm gonna insert a clip that I did from the morning that I got the report because it was like a few minutes before my baby woke up, so I was just able to glance at the report, which I have with me, and just like first impressions of just what I could see in the first like page or so. And not even really like what I thought about it, but just like, oh, exclaiming this info and that info. I wasn't really like, oh, it says here that I'm like, it wasn't very learned. It wasn't very like, erudite. It was pretty messy because also I was still in bed. Um, and still waking up, and I just grabbed my iPad when I saw that the email was there, and I was like, yay, let's look. This is just a quick bite of a reaction. I just got my whole email from my style consultant. I'm obviously going to do a larger reaction. It's like 7 a.m. My baby's about to wake up. I gotta go nurse, so I can't do a full-on reaction now of the entire consultation, but I just want to get a quick, I'm like back to being fast. A quick, honest reaction. My AC is running. I don't know if you can hear me. I'll turn up the volume on this segment a bit more when I do my, when I do the edit of this. Guys, I'm sorry. This is a full-on hot mess, but this is being a mom in the morning. It is what it is. So, I'm not surprised it got mixed for this body geometry style. I'm not surprised because I really, again, I just realized I have short legs, I have long arms. It's just all over the place. So, okay. Warm and delicate. That's what somebody said recently, and I just didn't, I don't know. It's weird because I wear a lot of cool and bright your lines versus color. I don't know. It's so confusing. So, ethereal and ingenue. This is like, in a way, it's some of what I figured out, but some of not. I was literally just now watching another woman's video, which I will probably link, about ingenue essence, and thinking that's probably the case. I don't know what this means for Kibbe, like what I would do, but that's fine. I'll figure it out. But I'm so excited, and I will get back to this when I am able to read the full report. I'm literally just like looking at it right now. It's so cool. I'm excited. I'm gonna get to see what this means, you guys. I don't know. It's so silly. But anyway, I will talk to you later. Bye. So, that being said, I have read through and I have tried my very best to both digest and understand the contents. And I'm here to sort of talk about it really quickly. I actually think this is going to be a longer video that I chop up into bits and upload into smaller bites, just because A, I don't think I can upload a long video, and B, there may be different sections that like makes more sense as their own video. We'll have to see. It'll all wash out in the editing. So I just wanted to start out first and foremost with thoughts. You may hear a baby in the background. My husband's actually minding our child, so yeah. And yeah, you may also notice that my eyes are red because my baby's been having trouble sleeping the past couple of nights, and last night she slept in the room here with us, which she hasn't done in a long time since we switched her to her own room. As far back as I can remember, until maybe my 30s or something. Really, until then, I thought of my frame as boyish, as tomboyish. Some of that obviously I think had to do with my own personality, how I carried myself a little bit. I've always been a mixture of the tomboy and the girly girl. And I've had friends say that it's like, you're like a boy with lipstick, or not in a negative sense. I've always thought of it, my bones, as boyish, and the flesh on top of it as almost as something different juxtaposed to that. Because obviously I have a really big chest, and while my hips are not very curvy in my opinion, and from what I could see for many years, the impression that having a very small rib cage and big boobs and a some gentle curve to your hips, especially if I'm a little overweight, I believe creates the strong impression of an hourglass figure, which I've always kind of thought that's what it is, but it's just a weird juxtaposition. Even now I'm 10 pounds overweight, but you can't really see it here and in this light, but you can generally count about 4 ribs down. Then there's my bosom, and then you can see the rest of my ribs. It's really funny because, again, I am 10 pounds overweight, but that's just kind of how this part of my body is made. And I personally don't see much of an angle in the flesh on the bones. Can't be avoided. I'm not trying to, but I'm just trying to talk about, because especially in body geometry, you talk a lot more about the bones, your bone structure. So I'm trying to also strip away the meat from the bones. Let's see. My hips and legs seem pretty straight to me. Personally, muscular, not long. That's just the thing. Like, I always thought I had like Britney Spears legs. That's, like one of the people that I could look at and say, okay, my legs are kind of like hers. I mean, I wear petite pants, which is really weird because I'm like 5'5" or 5'5.5". I'm not really sure. I fudged it in the past. I may have added that half. I am not sure. My shoulders, I also have a really hard time assessing, because like I do think that they have some slopeness to them, but I also think they have some sharpness to them. And I also have these dents in them because I have big boobs. And these dents to me sort of like break up the line. I can't really tell what's happening. So I have a hard time assessing my shoulders, but I do not think that they are very broad. I think that they tend to be narrow. They have like a sharpness to them, but they also have some slopeness to them. I don't know. So I think about all those parts and I'm like, so what does that mean? I think the answer is it's complicated. I don't really know what that means. And again, in the style ID report that I have, it isn't really pertaining directly to Kibbe type. So it's not like a perfect matchup. So I'm not certain that I can say definitively today what my Kibbe type would be, or which ones I'm closest to. But in the body geometry typing system, I am a mixed type with tautness in my flesh, which makes sense, especially with my muscular legs and semi-muscular arms and my face, which is both soft and not soft. So it's kind of like a weird thing. I don't know. I think it kind of means I'm a bit of a mutt. Like, I'm like the mullet of body types. I'm like party on the top, a business on the bottom. Like, it's the only thing that I can really see. And I think that's why mixed type kind of works in a sense that you couldn't put me in classic, because the two halves of my body just don't have the symmetry that they ought to have to be classic. I'm not dramatic because I'm not nearly as tall and sharp enough for that. I'm not romantic because I do have these sort of like both blunt and sharp and like non-rounded places. Like, it's just not uniform. Too much of it is not uniform, right? And then as well, like the mixed type really as a type is the only thing that really kind of makes sense, right? It's the only thing that you could say. You couldn't, I'm not natural. As much as I would love it, I mean, it's just a fact. Like, I would love, like, if I could pick a body type, it would be natural, because I feel like I like those clothes about. So I think if we're talking about the Kibbe system, I would be classified as in between types, right? Now, the way his system works is that I would need to find types that are kind of closer together to make it make sense. But I think the way my body works is not quite like that either, which is like kind of takes me further away from the thing that I was trying to try and make sense, which is looking at sort of like the map of Kibbe types and saying, okay, I'm sort of in this sort of geography of the map, and if I sort of stay in this general zone, I can find clothes that can work together harmoniously with both themselves and with my body. And that, I think, is where the complication comes in. I don't think I'm going to necessarily be able to do that. I think I'm going to have to pull from different places to make something that is coherent and that works with my body, which is kind of why it's been hard, kind of why it's been difficult to sort of like just go to one type and pick something and have it look good kind of all over. It just doesn't. And when I was on Reddit, I got literally typed as every single type. I think because of the inconsistencies and actually the flow of my body, it makes it almost, it's like I can't blame anyone. It makes it almost impossible for anyone to figure out what my type is, because I don't think I fit into one. If we're using the same verbiage and we're talking Kibbe types, then the closest type would be some sort of gamine, and that I find very difficult. If you were to take away my bosom, I think very easily my bones would fit into like flamboyant gamine very easily. I mean, obviously, like maybe it's harder to talk about it now because I'm still lactating, so I'm still like nursing my baby, and my boobs are even bigger than they ever were. It is what it is, but they were always big, and they were always an issue, and they were always something that I had to dress around, dress for. They were always the problem, the fly in the ointment of outfits, like maybe sort of like how I was trying to dress for my body, or just how I was trying to dress for work, or how I was trying to dress for situations where I wasn't trying to be like a bombshell with like, these amazing bazungas. They're there. So I honestly think I've been able to wear almost every type of clothing semi-successfully, with a number of people thinking it's a very attractive way for you to dress. That is a very, like, in the different styles that I've tried, probably the only one that I've really not found, found to be really, like, I don't try to wear any elements of anymore, is like what I now know to be more as the classic type, like the classic lines, not the type of clothes, because you can get cardigans and jeans in every type. It's the lines of those clothes. I think classic is something that I stay the hell away from because it has not been very successful for me. I think if I were a famous person, someone that had paparazzi taking pictures of me consistently, and you'd see days, like 365 days worth of me walking out to get my latte, and you'd see different outfits and different things that I wore, I think I'd be one of those people who were hotly contested on these forums as to what my actual best lines are. I think with this person, I'd be classified as this, and with this person, I'd be classified as that, and with another one, I'd be classified as something else. And they would strongly believe it for whatever points that they choose from me, because I've got lots to choose from, right? And I think a lot of times the well-informed participants on these boards are really honestly doing angels work. They're really helping people dispel body myths and self-perception myths and like personal aversions. They're helping people to sort of like grasp themselves and like sort of like look at themselves with more kindness perhaps than they have in the past, which I think is a beautiful thing.